Welcome to the Nodachi. The greatest weapon in the goddamn game. Hello, my fellow, hopefully soon-to-be wielders of Maximus Swordicus. I have only 3 things to say. Wild Hearts is almost upon us. Please check the link down below to get involved. And thank you to EA for sponsoring this deep dive into the biggest of sword whackers. Yes, technically the Karakuri staff turns temporarily into an even bigger sword whacker, but that's only like 5% of the time, so it doesn't really count. 2. This is truly the weapon of champions, gods, and kings. And no, I'm not at all biased. And 3, hopefully, by the time we're done, you will understand both why it's so much fun, why it's so effective, and how exactly to be just that effective with it.
I'm in danger!
Let's begin then, as is right, with the basics. This is the Nodachi. It is a very, very large weapon. It's got a lot of reach, it's got a lot of heft, and it's not the fastest thing going. But what it lacks in speed, it more than makes up for in pure earth-shattering power. Your basic attack then is just going to be your 3 hits back to back, each one a bit stronger than the last, each one a bit slower than the last, and ultimately it is a filler combo, but one that's very good to have. You can do an unsheath version from sprinting too. This will be used when you're low on stamina or you can't be charging for whatever reason, but the Kemono is vulnerable and you want to get at least some damage in. Or more commonly, you'll use it while charging, as it will weave in extra damage while also boosting up your charge, ultimately not slowing it down. This is where the weapon gets advanced though, and for now I want you to forget about it as we focus on the core here, which is said charge, as it can be quite a steep learning curve when you first pick it up. Oh, you wait, Kemono. I'm gonna hit you soon, just in a little bit. Oh, you're not ready for this. Give it a few moments. Just stay there, please. Don't attack me or anything. Oh, you'll feel my fury. Oh, the amount of damage I'm about to hurt you with when we get. Oh, it's aha. Okay, I exaggerate, but that is how it will feel when you first pick up this weapon. And I will be brutally honest with you guys. Likely, again, when you first pick up this weapon, you will probably have a reaction of, this feels unfun, this feels sluggish, I hate this, I cannot get to full charge without being forced to cancel it by the monster hitting me or running out of stamina, I don't understand, I hit him like twice the entire hunt with the big hit, so my damage just feels really like low over time, I'm not getting it. And I experienced that. But let me tell you, when this weapon clicks, it clicks in the most magical and beautiful way. So let's explore this charge. When you start it, you can do so from unsheathed, you can do so after any attack, you can do so from sheathed. You will have about 5.5 seconds. It is slightly faster to go into the charge after another given attack, but by slightly faster, I mean fractions of a second. You can see a comparison here. It's not really something you need to focus on making happen. So 5.5 seconds and then you are ready. It takes a good helping of stamina to do this if you stand still the entire time. You can do about 3 full charges or so on a full bar of stamina if all you have to do is charge. You can fortunately move while charging, which will help with positioning and dodging, but the thing is it slows down the charge speed massively to the point that you can't even get a full charge if all you're doing is running the entire time. You have to go into the planted charge at some point, and after moving it takes a little bit to return to fast charging even after you stood still. So now you've got an idea of the flow in this weapon. Your goal is to find just over 5 seconds of charge time and then to hit the Kemono with the big hit. You have a few things that make that significantly easier, however, as I realize on paper, that sounds like a near impossible task once the Kemono get ridiculous in the endgame. So first and foremost, the actual range on the big hit is massive. like, really far away. Like, I am appreciably away from the training dummy, and yet I comfortably know that I'm going to apply the big damage. The first little hit doesn't hit, but that doesn't matter, it does barely anything, but your hunter really runs forward into the big swing, and then the actual crater earth on the floor itself is all hitbox. You can hit Kemono slightly behind you, over to your left, you can really clip things with this, and once you kind of learn the actual range and get a feel for it, you'll start really sneaking in some almost pixel perfect just bits of damage that really visually look like they should never have happened, and that's really cool. Your other big helpful how to actually make this work is the simple fact that you can roll while charging and it doesn't cancel the charge. It just pauses it for the duration of the roll. Now, this does cost stamina. You get at most 3 rolls on a full stamina bar if you still want to finish the charge standing still the entire time you're not rolling. And herein lies the way of the Nodachi. You start charging and you say, "Hey Kemono, you have 5 seconds to hit me, or you're going to be in a lot of pain." So, for example, this little exchange here. I'm a little bit further away from Lavaback, which is good because it gives me some time to charge. You can get to the Kemono quite quickly if you need to. His Luffy impression is going to force me to dodge just before I finish charging, but that's okay. The charge then finishes, and I use the spring to restore a little bit of stamina because I'm getting actually quite low. We'll get into that later. Lavaback then goes for his flying kick, which I now have the stamina to iframe while still holding the full charge, and now Lavaback is committed to the floor. I can unleash the charge, get the damage in, send him reeling as I break apart, and that, right there, in essence, is the Nodachi, and it is very satisfying. Now, don't get me wrong, when the Kemono goes down, when it's in a Karakuri trap, when it is otherwise focused on another player in multiplayer, when it's distracted, yeah, just sit there and charge and let loose the attack because you're not under pressure. But in a pure 1v1, you start charging and the Kemono is obviously going to attack you. You need to iframe those attacks. The roll while charging is very generous. It's not the hardest thing to do, it's not the easiest, but you will get used to it. So the Kemono starts winding up, it does like a 1-2-3 hit combo, you smoothly roll them, and now you finish charging and the Kemono is reeling from the end of its attack animation, and then you strike. It's quite literally how this Lavaback hunt ends, not to, spoil you. He does his dive kick towards me, I roll through it while charging, spin around, let the charge go, and boom. Tell me that is not a satisfying kill, and that is how damage is done effectively with the Nodachi. You have to be brave. You charge, you dodge, you hit, you charge, you dodge, you hit, and you do not stop. You're not looking for 5 seconds of being ignored by the Kemono. No, you're looking for 5 seconds where you're confident that nothing it does is going to either reach you or touch you. And that is, in its own way, exhilarating. Now, that said, we have one further way to make this even easier, and that is the champion of this weapon, the basic Karakuri, the Spring. So what the Spring does is it has even more iframes than the roll, and you can upgrade it on the Karakuri tree to have even more iframes. But the Spring you can obviously place while charging. You can place any Karakuri while charging, which is really useful too. The Spring then will allow you to iframe and move a significant distance while charging still. It still doesn't cancel it. This is perfect, because not only does it give you a way to cover some real distance, say you're fully charged but the Kemono's the opposite end of the zone and you don't want to waste the charge because if you fully run out of stamina you will just cancel, fall to the ground and be vulnerable, and that's very, very sad. So you can spring towards the Kemono while fully charged and get to it in time before you're out. Also though, and this is the real Using the spring while charging restores your stamina for the duration you're in the air / on the spring. This means you can actually gain stamina while charging, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you is incredible. It buys you so much extra time to land the hit without having to worry about the short stamina allowance that you get when rolling and charging. So there is no doubt in my mind that every Nodachi player should be having the spring. It's what you will be spending most of your thread on. It just complements the weapon so perfectly, it is hard to overstate that. So, that's the tools in your arsenal. Charge, roll while charging, spring while charging, and then land the hit as the Kemono is recovering. Now, it is at this point that we have to go over how this weapon gets that extra layer of risk-reward complexity. Don't get me wrong, you can play it exactly how I've just gone over it your entire time in Wild Hearts and be very effective. Hell, you'll see in the Pro and Noob playthrough that's pretty much what I do, because, well, weaving in the extra attacks while charging takes it to a whole other experience. When the Kemono is down, when it's distracted, when it's not looking at you, of course you can run up and you can do the triple square combo while charging, reach full charge, and then unleash that in one smooth set of hits. It will take exactly the same time, 5.5 seconds, to fully charge with the combo versus just planting and letting it fast charge. So don't think you're saving time by attacking. This functionality to attack, gain a bit of charge, is entirely existing to weave in sporadic, opportunistic extra bits of damage when you think you can get away with it. And that's the key there, when you think you can get away with it. If the Kemono decides to whip around and throw something quick at you and you've decided to go for a quick little hit to be cheeky while charging, and then you get your charge cancelled, well, suddenly you have wasted an entire charge, and that's a huge damage loss, because of course you can't cancel this attack and roll, so you're just going to take hits to the face if you don't choose the right moments. And therein lies the element of you need to really know the Kemono that you are fighting to know that it is definitely safe to throw out 1, 2, or 3 of the combo for that bit of extra damage, as a lot of the time you'll get punished for it, and that feels really bad. So I would definitely imagine that this weapon is simply charge, dodge, unleash the big attack for a good chunk of time to begin with, and let yourself get comfortable with that process before you try and weave in the actual attack combo for a bit of cheeky extra damage. There's a bit more to it though. The charge, when it's halfway through the bar, will let you unleash it then for a smaller yet still appreciable swiping attack. Good range, decent damage, it's better than nothing if you foresee that you're not going to be able to finish the charge this time around for whatever reason. Back to the spring then, if you unleash a full charge while having sprung, you will do a massively long range reaching double sweep that again does decent damage and covers again ridiculous distance. It's very, very useful in a lot of situations, either when you are really far away, or you want to essentially trade with the Kemono as you fly through its attack, swiping. It's very, very useful in our toolkit. This awesome spring interaction is also what lets you do your ideal opener when starting a Kemono fight. Fully charge on sort of the edge of the zone, then walk up to it, make sure you deliberately miss the first swing, and then land with the second, and you'll get in a big amount of damage before they've even noticed you and done their opening roar. It works really well and is the best way to go about things. Other interactions with Karakuri include a fully charged off-the-box drop slam, which is nice. We can fall out of the sky, for example from the glider, for a multi-hit down explosion, and then with the flame torch we can sweep through it with a follow-up attack that then does a big fiery plume slam, which is also very nice. None of this does more damage than the full charge, of course, that's always what you're aiming for. The fire is especially useful as it will CC the monster eventually, but the Nodachi doesn't really hit often enough for it to be that great for us specifically, so a lot of the time you probably won't have the torch while using this weapon. Lastly then, there is of course the whole entire, other attack button. This, when you're standing still and not putting in a direction, does a little back hop and a sweep in front of you. It has a few iframes. When you put in a direction, well, you go in that direction with the sweeping attack. Does, well, a little bit of damage and moves you. This is nice to use if all you need to get out the way or into a spot you need to be is to purely move. I would recommend that until you are ultra comfortable with both the weapon and the Kemono you are fighting, you don't try and use these instead of rolling. You can use them while charging, and they let you keep charging, although a bit slower, while using them, and that's really nice. For a little micro repositioning, it really does work well. Let's say the monster's down, you're at the tail, you're fully charged, but you want to hit the head, you do a little slash sweep left, get a bit of extra damage, now you're at the head, let the attack go. But in terms of pure iframing, dodging, getting the full charge, this really isn't comfortable a way to do it. But hey, you might be the god's gift to this weapon, in which case go for it, but I would definitely say you'll find yourself probably using this not super much, really. This weapon is charge, roll, and basic Karakuri, and you know what? It really works for it. The game plan is simple, the execution is incredibly rewarding and satisfying, and it is endlessly fun. That is, well, a basic overview. Of course, there is nuance, and each given Kemono has its own separate ways that interact nicely or not so nicely with what this weapon is trying to do. But this should certainly give you the, well, platform to start properly landing those big, powerful hits. In terms of any armor skills or weapon skills you're going for, other than the obvious anything that makes the big charged hit do more damage, you want stamina management skills. Stamina regens faster, stamina starts regenning faster, you have more total stamina, you use less stamina while unsheathed, and so on and so forth. Look for them. You also want to have two iconic skills for this weapon in the form of either Steely EI, which will make you harder to knock over while charging, which can help you out against smaller hits, or the equivalent of focus if you have played Greatsword in Monster Hunter, i.e. this, which makes you charge the bar faster. And then in terms of the weapon, as you might expect, what really matters here is finding the weapon with the highest amount of pure raw damage on it. I have found elements, at least on the Nodachi, to be a little bit kinda underwhelming, a little bit pointless. Just go for the big numbers when you're upgrading as you play through the story, and you will be a-okay. That is really the core that you need to worry about, at least until Ultra Endgame, when you start making some narrow, razor-focused, and really neat builds. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has helped, I hope it has been found interesting, and I hope it opens your eyes to the magnificence that is the Nodachi. Good luck, good hunting, and I will see you out there. Like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.